Glasgow to some people. There was a phone in on Radio Merseyside recently, and the question was, is Liverpool a dangerous or a safe city? People were phoning in with their views, and this, what sounded like a young girl of about 18 rang in and said, no, I don't think Liverpool's dangerous at all. Oh, I can't do a mock Scouse accent. I don't think Liverpool's dangerous at all. She said, it's absolutely safe, it's perfect. This question about dangerousness is stupid, it's fine as long as you know how to defend yourself. And that's true. But Liverpool's a proud city, of course, as I guess we all are. If you ask anyone from Birmingham what's Britain's second city, they'll say Birmingham. If you ask anyone from Glasgow what's Britain's second city, they'll say Glasgow. If you ask someone from Liverpool what's Britain's second city, they'll say London.
In community, we not only stand together, but we stand for what we believe in. Where does the intersection of the private, public, and political fit within mental health services? F off and treat yourself. Where organizations become so preoccupied with the internal processes or external inspections that they have little or no time for service users.
And I like Irreverence because it's very playful. And I think that as adults we lose our capacity to play and actually recognize how instructive play can be. And so if we watch children, because I've worked in child and adolescent mental health for so long, children play out a lot of their issues. And I think sometimes we need to get, as adults, back in touch with that concept of being playful. And so I like Irreverence because not only can you be literally playful, but also it's being playful with ideas. And so I love that kind of playing around with ideas. And the freedom that it gives you to be able to go from one position, you know, and then to go 180 degrees or 360 degrees to a completely different idea. And then it connects onto my ideas about attachment. And of course it's interesting because attachment, obviously strong psychological connections about attachment and attachment theory. But then when I've looked at my own spiritual practice and considered the idea of attachment in spiritual practice, it's about attachment to ideas and how you need to let that go. And so it's been interesting for me to come back and start to think about what are some of the ideas or practices indeed or even emotions that I have become attached to, and how in my spiritual practice I need to be moving towards a position of non-attachment. And I think Irreverence actually helps me to do that in an ironic way, because of course it's reverently irreverent, if you like.
I have been labeled as out there, a maverick, hysterical, and now I am becoming an old woman. I am so looking forward to that.
Well, it was absolutely fantastic. I'm still deeply moved by Geraldine's words and the emotional impact of it. For me, being a Liverpool man, both professionally and personally from here, it just had so much resonance. And I know Geraldine well, we're mates, we're both G. Smiths who play around with that name, and she just was so on the ball about it all, about the whole impact of NHS.
Talk about the case, and a moment in the case when I think I did something relevant to the kind of direction I was going in. And it was in a first family meeting, and a father who seemed pretty frustrated with me said, look, to be honest, I understand what the doctors, nurses and psychologists do for our daughter. She was an inpatient in our unit. The doctors assess, diagnose and prescribe the treatment. The nurses care for and carry out the treatment. And the psychologists find out what make her tick. But I don't understand what it is that you, family therapists, do. I immediately had a tangle overwhelming, crippling doubt. I was in the middle of my not knowing this phase, so I was not sure. I reflected internally. How should I respond? I worried. Will I lose my bottle? I panicked ever so slightly. Should I withdraw? Politely. There's lots of other families waiting, so I didn't. I could have just said, you've got people who you understand who are helping you to continue if you want to come back later. Then I remembered the maxim: to turn a crisis for the therapist into an opportunity for the client. I thought this needs to be addressed. I've read Jed's work on masculinity, and I thought this needs to be faced directly, and faced man to man. So, I asked her, you said earlier, Kathy, that quite often you really struggle to know how to respond when OCD leads your daughter to be demanding and leads you to feel emotionally drained and despondent about the situation ever getting better. She was nodding tearfully. During those times, what is it that your husband does or doesn't do that helps you to persist, even though it's a struggle, and gives you the emotional support that you need to think that there might be a better future? Well, she said, he has stopped shouting at me, and he doesn't walk out of the room in a huff like he used to. Now, he's much more likely to wait quietly or put his hand on my shoulder, which feels supportive. And she, our daughter, can see that we are together on this. Later, he'll often say that he's pleased that I'm so patient with her because he can do it. I turn back to the father. Before I asked your wife that question, did you realise that she experienced you as supportive in those ways? And that what you do and don't do can directly help your wife and indirectly help your daughter? No, I didn't quite realise that until now. That's quite an eye-opener. That's what I do.
We've been in the business now for more than 40 years at YPAS, and I think my thinking about that is the reason we've existed so long is because we are very willing to try on different pairs of shoes, different types of shoes, and I think that's why we've been so successful. And currently we are involved in CYP IAPT, Children and Young Persons IAPT, and I'm currently halfway through the Systemic Family Practice training. And I've been thinking about that as well because I think that that's going to be a topic for this conference. And I thought about that as shoes, and I thought, I don't really know if, and this is kind of my opinion, whether they're comfy shoes yet. I think there've been a lot of blisters along the way, and probably will be a few more, but hopefully at the end of the process we'll find a good fit.